everybody, welcome to Sportsbet. It is great to be here with you as we look forward to a tremendous weekend's action, in particular, of course, at Aintree. And I'm looking forward to certainly the second and third days with you here on this bulletin, because I've got a tip for you on Friday at Aintree and one on Saturday as well, on Grand National Day itself. If you're joining me for the first time, this is a free tipping service, and if you press the subscribe button just below this screen, you'll get all my free tips and be able to consider them as you're making your calculations for what to back for the weekends and for big meetings and so on and so forth. Well, I'm always looking for each way value, as you very well know. It's not always been easy, but overall we show a profit over the season and over the calendar year. And looking at Aintree this year, they're forecasting they're going to be good to soft, possibly soft in places come Grand National Day. But it started off Thursday afternoon in pretty bright sunshine. So I think generally good to soft ground. Now I'm going to take you to my very first free tip for you, which is on Friday at Aintree in the 440. Now this is the Grade 1 Sefton Novices Hurdle. It's always a good race. It's over 3 miles. There are 16 runners declared as of the time of this recording, just after 2 o'clock on Thursday. Now, it's been won, as this race, by some really good horses over the last decade, the likes of Thistlecrack and Santini, Champ, and of course, Ahoy Senor popped up as well at big odds. And vying for favouritism at the moment is Stay Away Faye, who's trained by Paul Nicholls. And this one was really brave when running on strongly at the end of 3 miles of the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle at last month's Cheltenham Festival. It was a real doer effort in a tough race. And you'd have to say that if Stay Away Faye's fully recovered from his exertions, he would have to go close. He's the top-rated horse in the field on the official ratings, but has he fully recovered? We've already seen quite a few horses in particular running at Fairyhouse, not all of them, but many of them, who didn't run particularly well in their subsequent runs after Cheltenham. In behind Stay Away Faye that day at Cheltenham last month were the likes of We've All Been Caught, who was 7th, and Search for Glory, who was pulled up. I couldn't see those two being able to turn it around. Now, another horse who ran very well at Cheltenham, indeed he was a winner, is Iroko, who's trained by the team of Oliver Greenall and Josh Guerrero. And this one stormed home to catch No Ordinary Joe, which was a bit of heartbreak for my out in front supporters, because No Ordinary Joe was trading odds on the run-in before being caught. That was in the Martin Pipe. It was over 2.5 miles. He's gone up £6, but he may well stay this longer trip. And again, if he's recovered, Iroko would have a proper chance. Now, Gordon Elliott runs one here called Absolute Notions, and he kept on very well to be second to a decent horse called Good Land in a Grade 1 at the Dublin Festival at Leopardstown in February over 2 3/4 miles. Now, unlike the other two I've already mentioned, he's had a break, and he's been off since then, so he should be nice and fresh and ready to go, and he's rated 143. Now, amongst the others, Dan Skelton has Grey Dawning, who landed a hat-trick in a Warwick Grade 2 over 2 miles, 5 furlongs in heavy ground in January, is another one that seems to have been saved specifically for this. They didn't take it to Cheltenham, and after a 3-month break, Grey Dawning should be raring to go and looks to be one on the upgrade. And as I mentioned just a few moments ago, Lucinda Russell won this race with Ahoy Senor, who of course has gone on to be a very, very talented horse. He won it at odds of 66-1 when surprising a lot of people 2 years ago. And this year she runs the mare Apple Away, who is an improving mare. She's on a hat-trick, and her latest win was in a listed race for mares at Doncaster over 3 miles. It would not surprise at all to see Apple Away outrunning its odds. But my choice here is a horse for connections that are synonymous with Aintree. And the horse is called Maximilian, and he's trained by Donald McCain, the son of the great Ginger McCain, who sent out Red Rum to win 3 Grand Nationals and 1 other in Amberley House. And Brian Hughes, the champion jockey, is going to be on board Maximilian, who is a really good horse trained by Donald McCain, who has a winner factory. He farms the races in the North and the Midlands, but he's got a lot of sort of middle range horses, not too many really classy ones, but I think this is one that they've always had a very high regard for. Indeed, Donald McKay made it very clear that he doesn't really like Cheltenham, and this has always been the target for Maximilian. He's a horse who won both his bumpers, and then he won his first two novices hurdle prior to finishing an 8-length third at Sandown in a Grade 2 over 2.5 miles in December. Now, he can be forgiven that defeat because he came back with blood from his nostrils, so he had some sort of a small burst there. And as a result of that, he had a breathing operation just to help get the air and oxygen through into those lungs. And it seemed to work very well because he was off for 8 weeks even, and then he returned to form with a bang, got right back on the winning trail, and the horse that he beat at Doncaster in a Grade 2, the 3-mile River-Don hurdle at the end of January, was none other than Stay Away Faye, who of course went on to win the Albert Bartlett at Cheltenham. So this form for me is absolutely red hot. Now, unlike Stay Away Faye, who was involved in a real battle to win that great race at Cheltenham, Maximilian's had a nice rest. He was putting his hooves up while all the others were beating themselves up at Cheltenham. And he's going to come back, and he's going to be a relatively fresh horse. And he's been targeted at this race. And that's why I think he's got a great chance. He's already beaten the favourite, Stay Away Faye. So I think really in my book, he should be favourite. And that's why the current odds at the time of this recording of 11-2 each way appeal to me as good value. We'll soon know by Friday afternoon whether those odds are on the short side or on the long side. But at the time of this recording, 11-2 each way for 4 places, Maximilian in the 440 at Aintree on Friday, the Sefton Novices Hurdle. Now, I've got one more tip for you. That's going to be on National Day on Saturday. But just before we go to that, here's something for you to take a look at and have a think about joining us at Out in Front, where we've got some terrific information lined up for you for the remainder of the Aintree Festival, as well as going forward after that. Chance. I thought so when he was a 20-1 shot. He's now 28-1. Favor is the one I think could really come up that hill, and wouldn't it be wonderful if he did run well at those very big odds? So there we go. And now on to Saturday, which is, of course, Grand National Day. There's going to be a huge crowd at Aintree. I know they're a bit worried about some of the animal rights activists causing bother, and I expect they'll be keeping their eyes peeled for anybody trying any sort of nonsense. The National is always one of the great races, even though, of course, the fences are nowhere near as fearsome as they used to be. I've spent a lot of time going through the race, but of course you need a bit of luck, quite a lot of luck in the National. And I'm going to be recommending 2 horses for the race, both of them at odds of 50-1 and upwards. And they're going to be recommended on the Out in Front service. So that's another reason to check out the link below this screen. What I will say to you about the Grand National is that although I fancy 2 at big prices to run very, very well, and I think we really have a proper chance. If I were to look towards the leading end of the market, where you've got the main pretenders, the horse I think amongst those that are shorter prices is probably, I won't say well handicapped, but has the most obvious chance in my book, is last year's runner-up, Any Second Now. Ted Walsh's horse has been placed in a couple of nationals. He's much better off at the weights with Noble Yates. And he just seems to be a horse that runs above himself at Aintree. Now, he's got top weight, which is a lot to ask of any horse at Aintree, but he seems to be so much better. And I think that he would run very, very well indeed for those of you that are looking for one towards the front end of the market. But at the bigger odds and some really fancy prices, the two I will be making a case for will be over and out in front. But I have one here for you that I am recommending on Saturday, Grand National Day, and that is in the 3 o'clock race. The Grade 1 Mersey Novices Hurdle is over 2.5 miles, 14 runners, and they're forecasting good to soft ground. Now, Hermes Allen for Paul Nicholls beat You Wear It Well, who's trained by Jamie Snowden, in the Grade 1 Shallow Hurdle on New Year's Eve down at Newbury, for disappointing when it was sent off favourite at the Cheltenham Festival last month. Hermes Allen was only 6th there in the Ballymore at Cheltenham, and he may well bounce back, but I'm just not completely sure that he is going to be moving forward at this time of year, having been at a peak winning a Grade 1 in midwinter. Whereas You Wear It Well, who was second in the Shallow, has gone on to do really well, winning a Grade 2 mares race at Sandown in February, and then putting up that tremendous performance in the very emotional atmosphere of Cheltenham and the Jack de Bromhead Mares Hurdle a few weeks ago. It was a terrific effort and a great feather in the cap of Jamie Snowden for You Wear It Well. But again, a horse that had another hard race. Is it going to be able to bounce back and go to the well once more and produce the goods? We'll soon see, of course, on Saturday. Now, the Irish runners are always to be feared, and the shortest priced amongst them is Willie Mullins's Dark Raven, who was third to Il Était Temps over 2 miles in a Grade 1 at Leopardstown's Dublin Festival in February, and then ran very respectably when 6th of 14 to Marine Nationale in the Supreme Novices Hurdle over 2 miles. An interesting contender, this one, stepping up to 2.5 miles, but again, it has to shake off the effects, if there were any, of its run at the Cheltenham Festival. Now, one that's actually stepping down in trip and coming over from Ireland is Gavin Cromwell's Let's Be Clear About It. Now, this horse won at Punchestown in a 3-mile novices hurdle, and then was a really good fourth of the 20 runners to stay away Fay in that Grade 1 Albert Bartlett novices hurdle I spoke about at the start of this broadcast. So an interesting runner, let's be clear about it. So too is John Joe O'Neill's Springwell Bay, who looks a very nice prospect. It's won 4 of its 5 races, going up in class here after a win at Wetherby last time out. This will be an acid test. And then Gary Moore is a trainer having a terrific run of form this late winter and early spring. And he saddles Authorised Speed, who's won 3 of its last 4 races, including a very easy 2-mile novice hurdle success at Sandown in March. But it had previously been 5th in a Grade 1 over 2 miles at Sandown in January. It does just about stay this trip because it won over 2 miles, 3 furlongs, even earlier in the term. This is a really open race. But my choice is one of the Irish Raiders, and the horse in question is called Irish Point. And it's trained by Gordon Elliott, and it could be a farewell winner on Grand National Day for Davy Russell, who says that he's probably going to be hanging his boots up finally for good, although he did retire and come back to replace the injured Jack Kennedy. I think this horse has got a great chance of sending Davy off away from Aintree, where, of course, he rode Tiger Row to famous victories. In this particular race, Irish Point, who was a Grade 1 horse in France, in bumpers. He was a French Grade 1 bumper winner. He won that race in November of 2021, then had a setback and missed a year. He reappeared, being trained by Gordon Elliott in Ireland, and won on his debut. That was in November in a 2-mile maiden hurdle at Cork on soft ground. And then he finished second just beaten ahead, moving up straight from a maiden hurdle to a Grade 1. And the horse that beat him ahead at Fairyhouse in early December was none other than Marine Nationale, who won the Supreme Novices Hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival. This is tremendous form. That very narrow defeat came in the Grade 1 Royal Bond Hurdle. He then went on to step up to 2.5 miles, and he was second to a very smart horse called Champ Kylie. That was in a Grade 1 at Naas in January. He was just slightly outpaced, I think, over the 2 miles again when fourth to Willette Tomp in a Grade 1 at the Dublin Festival at Leopardstown in February. And then in the Grade 3 on his latest start, he won at Naas over 2 miles, just that slight drop down in grade over the minimum trip, and he won very comfortably there. And he beat a horse called No Looking Back, by the way, who runs in Friday's Top Novices Hurdle. So if he were to run well on Friday, that would be another pointer to the chance of Irish Point on Saturday. So do look out for that form link Friday for Saturday. Now, significantly, Irish Point didn't go to Cheltenham, which I think is good news. He also sidestepped a possible engagement at Fairyhouse last week, and he's been safe for this. He's a horse that obviously cost a pretty penny, being a Grade 1 French bumper winner. He's run the Supreme Novice Hurdler to a head earlier in the season, and I think this really is his optimum trip. And at the odds at the time of this recording of 6-1 each way for 4 places, I'm backing Gordon Elliott and Davy Russell to sign off with a National Day winner in the 3 o'clock, and that is with Irish Point in the Mersey Novices Hurdle. Well, whatever you back this weekend at Aintree or elsewhere, I wish you the best of luck. I hope that all the horses that go to post at Aintree over the 3 days, in particular over the national fences, come back safely, and the jockeys as well. And I look forward to speaking to you again same time next week, where we've got some more terrific racing to look forward up in Scotland. But for now, from me, Paul Alster, it's goodbye. Enjoy your racing.